Hey everyone, first of all, thanks for tuning into the episode. Um, Second of all, I'm an idiot, and I guess I saved this episode as the setting where when each person talks, their face makes up the whole screen. So I'm hoping that the majority of you guys are not listening to this and watching it, and instead you're just listening to it and not looking at our silly faces just be blurred from the whole screen. So I apologize, but it will be for this episode and the next one. But I figured out what I was doing wrong, and you live and you learn. I'll be better next time. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the episode.
Boom. Welcome everyone to officially episode 3. And we believe we finally settled on our name, which will be Confronting Our Thoughts. We just feel like we said in episode 1, the whole idea behind this is just really kind of getting, uh, just talking to each other about real ass shit and real ass things that we're talking about that, you know, I would think typically people kind of like to shy away from, or just like some shower thoughts and stuff that they don't necessarily get out. And we're definitely trying to do the opposite and just help those thoughts, help us with those thoughts coming out. And yeah, so that's the idea behind it.
Originally we had other names in place, but there are other podcasts out there with similar names. So we decided to try to branch out and find one that is authentic and not used by other people. So we can kind of run with that. So Confronting Our Thoughts seems not to be taken. So we're going to run with that one. And Tom explained it right. And the basic idea behind what we're doing here is having those tough conversations and just seeing what our perspectives are or our thoughts about those things. And we're just coming together and sharing those with whoever decides to tune in. So, yeah.
We're just trying to have a conversation with each other. And it's already helped me a ton. I keep saying that every episode. And I would like to think it's the same for these two other gentlemen. And so, yeah, we'll get into a little different environment for us all. It's the holiday season. We're back in our hometown, which is about 5 minutes away from each other right now. That's how small our hometown is. And it feels good. It's a little nostalgic as always. But man, growing up in this, coming back, you just realize how goddamn simple your life was just a short 4 or 5 years ago. And simple in a good way. But sometimes I think if you stick around in this comfortable environment for too long around the same people, you could definitely get very, very too comfortable. Not that like small towns are bad, but I think I don't want to start I'm not trying to judge people or anything. I don't know what I'm trying to get at here, but it's just I think it's important to realize that there's other things out there, and you experience those other things. And if that's not your vibe, then that's okay. You always have like the comfort, the safety, the security of a smaller town in America. But yeah, do you guys agree with that, or am I kind of coming up too much of a conclusion on people? Just the idea that it's the idea of exploration, physical exploration, can help you internally as a person kind of find yourself a little more.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with that part. When you're in a small town for so long, you kind of get used to the way things are in that area, and you're not really aware of what's going on in the outside world, like further away. So I think if you explore, go somewhere hours away, a different state, and it's kind of a new experience and you gain new perspectives when you do that. And I think what Tom was really getting at is that exploring is very good, and living in a small town or growing up in a small town is also very good, and they can both coexist. But the idea that when you go explore in a new environment and experience new things, if you don't like it, then home, which is like where we are right now, like home is always going to be here. I don't think Portage is really going to change. It hasn't changed. we left, the same people are going to be around, the same bars or pizza shops. And I mean, the highlight of our town is literally Sheets. So there's not much to do,
Shout out
but
Sheets, baby.
it's just the people that are in the town. Everyone knows everyone pretty much, but it's just the idea that being raised here and being around this area for so long, and then you go explore somewhere else, you just realize how big the world is, and like Tom said, how simple like life really was not so long ago when we were here. But it's always nice to come back, and obviously things really didn't change, but it's nice to see family and friends and whatnot.
Yeah, Luke, give us a little bit, brother. Or we're just
Hey
taking
man,
away
I
from
just
that right
gotta
now.
say, right now, like, Merry Christmas. I'm in the spirit. We are. But yeah, it's gonna be good to have everybody home. It's good to see everybody again. And this is what Christmas is all about. Christmas is friends, family, just spending time with one another, and it's good to have everyone home. Tom, we had a great night last night. So kind of in the trenches right now, but that's all right. It's cold out right now. What, it's -4? No,
Negative
4,
five.
my
It's
bad.
insane.
Yeah, it's
It's
brick.
insane.
It's brick out. It's brick out tonight. Well, today, but
Like
yeah.
literally unheard of. This was like the first time I think in NFL history. I might be butchering the stat, but it's some crazy that like this is the most games played under like 30 or 20 degrees in like NFL history or something. And I might have been butchering that, but it's crazy how fucking cold it is all around like the country. It's awesome.
Well, yeah. Well, what do you guys think about that? Because I like viewed the weather yesterday and it was like 36, and I like went through, it was 35 all night, and then at like 8 a.m. it just dropped to like 19, I believe, and then throughout the morning it's just been getting lower and lower. And now I think it's supposed to stay. I'm looking right now, -5 all day until 6 p.m. It says -8. So I mean, it's a pretty quick droppage. I don't really know what you guys think about that, or it's just
So
it's just
I,
fascinating to me. I don't know.
dude, I don't know. Yeah, definitely. I don't know if like I took a bio class last semester, and we can maybe get into our end of our semesters. But anyway, and it's I don't want to say it's because of the climate change and like us impacting the ozone layer. So like therefore the ozone layer it's like less resistant to temperature changes. And so therefore we feel these temperature changes more. I don't know the science behind it, but it like every time we get insane weather, my brain just subconsciously automatically goes to like, man, we as humans are like impacting our earth so much that like we're getting these extreme conditions. Now I might literally be bullshitting that, but for some reason every time I like my brain's like tainted basically with the idea of climate change, and then therefore every like insane hot summer or dry season or super cold season we get is due to climate change, and just makes me legit makes me sad. I need to like change the way I think about it, because it very well just might be Mother Nature doing Mother Nature shit. But also, I think there is maybe definitely some part of it of like us impacting the ozone layer so much due to our like fossil fuels and things like that. So I don't know though, but my brain, like I said, just automatically goes there, and I get kind of sad. To be honest with you, it makes me sad. Yeah, not backed by science, that thought, but it makes me sad.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, dude. Well, let's get into major topic of the day we're going to kind of discuss. It's just relationships. And I don't know, I guess we can kind of organize this between like starting with, because we got into a little bit of friendship, Zach, you and I, the first episode. And but obviously, and then we definitely just want to hit on relationships, like intimate relationships with other people. So first, I guess we could get into the importance of friendships in life and how crucial they are. So Luke, what do you think about like really how friendships have impacted you? Like, what's the first maybe thought or experience or feeling that comes to you?
I mean, when it just comes to like true friendships, like I think immediately to you guys, like who I can have like real talks, who keeps me humble, and who keeps me to myself, and like how we do it for each other. Like even like when we had this have this podcast, like we didn't record in what, almost a month. It's been a while, and like Zach's put in that comment in the group chat. He's like, "Listen, boys, like I love you, but like we're not doing this and we got to keep going. And like that accountability between all of us, I believe, is like what a friendship is. And like a true friendship is just being able to have you guys to look forward to keep me going and keep all of us going.
Yeah, I think just not being surrounded by fucking yes men, you know what I mean? Or, you know,
Yes,
yes women.
100%.
Yeah. And obviously, you know, you don't want them to have like be surrounded by a bunch of like assholes either. But yeah, and like something simple as this, it's like, hey, let's get on our shit a little bit. And that's we would do that on all aspects of life. That's just a very, you know, prime example of being surrounded by people who like truly give a shit, you know, obviously give a shit about themselves, which is important, but also give a shit about their, you know, their close friends, which is huge.
Yeah, I will just add, I think when it comes to friendships, it's who you surround yourself with is kind of like the company you keep is who you're gonna end up ultimately being. So, you know, if you surround yourself with people who like to go out and get drunk every night or um spend a bunch of money just chasing things that really aren't fulfilling, and that could
Mm-hmm.
impact you. So it's just who you surround yourself with. You want to surround yourself with like-minded individuals who are chasing their own goals, but at the same time um, have the ability to have those tough conversations, and they're not all about themselves. So they do care about you, and they have that genuine. You have like a genuine connection with them. It's just the company you keep is really important when it comes to friendships, because certain friendships, like you guys and just people that I've met in Portage, like small town, there's under 10 people that I would probably be in contact with like for the rest of my life. So like it's about the company you keep, and you can get to pick and choose who you want to surround yourself with. So I think that's another interesting thing about like friendships and just your own life in general.
Yeah, absolutely easier said than done though. I mean, it is,
Yeah.
it's hard to have hard conversations with guys that you spent some time with, but or gals that you spent some time with that you need to, you know, you need to see, look at them in the eyes, and obviously first look at yourself and realize like, listen, this is the people who you surround yourself absolutely impact you one way or the other. It's beautiful when it impacts you in a great way, and it's scary when you can see how bad being around a certain group of people can truly bring you down. So I mean, it's important, man. Maturity that's a huge aspect of maturity, is that being able to look into people that they look at you as a friend, and just realizing that, man, I have to do this for me, and I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, I'm sure that conversation, if you need to have a conversation with that person, that's going to also help them hopefully wake the hell up as well. You know, not that you're always right, but for the most part, if you're aware enough to have a conversation, or feel like you need to have a conversation with someone that's impacting you in a negative way, like I promise that person that you're having that conversation with will also benefit from it. And so, yeah, it's tough. Maybe one of the hardest things about becoming more mature, more aware, truly wanting things in life, is cutting people off. I know that's a very blunt way to put it, but yeah, absolutely. And there is a mature and there is a nice way, quote unquote, to go about it. But at the end of the day, it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck for you, and it's gonna suck for another person. But this life's too short to be sitting there saying yes and catering to other people, catering to other people's needs who are not catering for your needs. Yeah, man. I mean, that's friendships in not even a nutshell. That's absolutely friendships, man. And super grateful. I mean, prime example, I'm like, my living situation changed this past year. As far as like back home, usually I would come home to my mom's house, the house I grew up, but she moved away to a smaller apartment, and I was like, yo, Richard, can I like stay at Richard's house right now, which is one of all of our close friends? And he's like, yeah, dude, like whatever you need, come. And I'm like staying at his house for more than a week. So just little things like that. I mean, not little, that's a big thing. Like, man, surround by people that really give a fuck about you, And I've had multiple people be like, yo, listen, you can crash here, whatever. And it's awesome. It's awesome. So it's just little things like that can truly make you super grateful for the people you're around, man. So yeah. Well, let's get into maybe the more complicated relationship that
There
all
it is.
men and women experience, and that's intimate relationships. Is that the right way to say that, by the way? Intimate relationships. That's right. Like
100%.
you
Yeah,
and
100%.
okay. Man, I don't even know where to start. I feel like Zach, you can you try to start this off, because I feel like we all have a lot to say. We have a lot of experiences. We have a lot of feelings towards this in all sorts of ways. But yeah, Zach, maybe just kind of do a little introduction on what the hell we're about to get into here, or start this thing off.
Yeah. So when I think of intimate relationships, my definition has definitely changed from like maybe high school to undergraduate to now like graduate school. It's just as you get older, you get more mature and you realize things that you're looking for in a partner or things that you're not looking for. So when it comes to intimate relationships, it's all about, you know, who you want to spend and like give certain parts of your life that you don't give to just anyone. So it's kind of like that shared collaborative experience with another person that you let them into your little world, and there's no judgment and there's no shaming and things like that. So it's just a comfortability aspect. You can think back to, everyone's probably been in a relationship, high school relationships, when you think, there's like, well, I've been in tune. I think there's three types of like love, and like the high school relationship would be like the first love when you think it's like the one, like the high school sweetheart type thing or whatever you want to call it. It's like that puppy love. You think you're gonna end up with that person, but that's just, I think, the where you are in your development, you kind of attach to that person. But once other things come into play in life, such as college or whether you go to the military or just like big decisions like that, and it kind of just go your separate ways. And then the second love would kind of just be just another love that happens that it's kind of toxic, and the way it ends is just kind of hard, and you take like a really big blow or like a heartbreak. And then the third is just the like more kind of happens out of nowhere. You're not looking for anything, you're just not expecting something, you're going about your business, and then you just meet someone and you click, and then it kind of just falls into place. I'm pretty sure, I'm just referencing, there's a like new literature about like this 3 stages in psychology that have been coming out, that there's like 3 stages, and it's not like a linear process, but at some point, if you have multiple relationships, you might have one that falls into one of those categories. So intimate relationships, they're different for everyone, but they're very, I think, necessary in the world or in life. Not saying that you need someone, but it is nice to have someone to share things with, and reach down on a deeper level in connection with someone, to live your life and share your life with them, and then get some of their life shared with you. So yeah, intimate relationships are hard, and similar to friendships, they're very hard to stay in, and it takes a lot of effort on both sides, just like a friendship. But just the dynamic of intimacy versus friendship is just the main difference, but it's still a relationship at the end of the day, and it takes effort on both sides.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I have a quick question. Not really quick. I just have a question. Why? I think you're definitely more you're more like able to answer this, because I like can't wrap my head around this. Why do people stay in toxic relationships? Like, what is, I don't know, maybe chemically imbalanced? Like, why in the world would people like awareingly know they're in a toxic relationship, and why do they feel for some reason that they need to stay in it? I know it's a very broad and generalized question, but it's like, I don't know, like, why?
Well, that's
think?
definitely, there's multiple answers to that, but I would think the main thing is the comfortability aspect. They're comfortable in that situation and afraid to lose it, because if they would lose it, they don't feel like maybe they would find another relationship. And like in general, some people don't want to be alone at all. So I would think comfortability would be a thing. And also thinking like a power dynamic. If you're in like a toxic relationship, but maybe you have, maybe you make more money, or like you're the alpha. This could be the female or the male. You're kind of like the leader of the relationship, so necessarily you don't necessarily think that your partner is going to leave you, so you're just kind of, you like being in that kind of control. I'm thinking of some relationships where you might be afraid to lose your partner because you're kind of, maybe your self-esteem might be low, and you just might not have that confidence in yourself, so you're just happy to be in a relationship, even if it's toxic or not. Like, someone wants to be with you, quotations, like maybe that's just enough for you. So I would lean more towards the comfortability thing. People are afraid to do what's uncomfortable, especially if they're doing it for so long, even if it's toxic. There are so many other things that go into it. You could have you could have a kid together, you could live in the same house, you could have a pet together. There's just so many things that could go into it, but I think mainly it would come down to being comfortable in your situation and just being afraid to let that go.
Zach, I got a question. Like when how you're talking about like you just fallen into like a relationship, like with like the relationship you're in like now, what were kind of like the things that you were doing? Like what was your mindset before you went into like your current relationship? Like were you like even looking for anything? Were you like, I get like you're not trying to look for something, but like at the same time you got to put yourself out there. Like were you like expressively putting yourself out there trying to find somebody, or like was it just kind of like a thing like, okay, I met this girl, I'm just kind of hanging with her, and then next thing you know, like one thing leads to another, you're comfortable, like you're just expressing yourself. Like what was kind of like um your mentality going into that?
Yeah, definitely the second one. The past uh year or so, I was definitely taking more of a, like, focusing on myself and doing what I wanted to do, taking care of my business, kind of like keeping my head down and just like going forward. So I wasn't necessarily putting myself out there. I had like little things like here and there, just like talking to like girls, but it never like brought me any fulfillment or any meaning. I was just kind of like those empty conversations. Um, so then I cut like a lot of people off, and then going into grad school, I knew it was going to be tough. So it was kind of like the same thing, just like putting my head down and just like whatever comes to me, just like feel it out and like be in like the present. Just trying to really focus on like day by day, present moment type things. And then, uh, yeah, when I say you're not looking for it or you're not expecting it, that's what it's like, I think of it as like manifesting. So it's kind of like you're setting yourself up to be a good partner for whoever would come along, but also you just know what you're looking for in a partner. And like for me, it's like communication, honesty, and just someone who's ambitious and has goals and just like motivated and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, I wasn't looking for anything specifically, and it just came to me. And then once you hang out, or once I hung out with her for a little bit, like a few times, I was like, this is like, you know, kind of what I was thinking of when I wanted like a relationship, like just a cool girl to just like chill with and have conversations, and just that I actually want to hang out with and talk to. Because like I said before, there was other girls I was like in contact with, but I didn't actually want to talk to them. I was just bored. So getting through
100%.
that was definitely a hard thing. But yeah, that's what I would say about that.
There's Jordan Peterson has a quote. He got asked that. He goes, what should like young men, he talks a lot about young men, this goes for young men and women. He got the question, Jordan, what should a young person nowadays in their 20s be looking for in a relationship? And he said, the moment you realize, his advice was, for you to be in a healthy relationship, you should be constantly trying to be someone that you would want to date,
Yeah.
i.e. like, yeah, so like instead of you looking like, oh, I think I like this in a girl, I think I like this in a girl, I think I like this, you turn that around on yourself and say, what kind of person would you want to date? And he lists like simple traits that it's like, it makes so much sense. Like someone who's who's productive, someone who is clean, someone who is physically healthy, like these basic traits that like make sense when you're like, oh yeah, like that's the moment you focus on those for yourself. It's almost like that's the moment you realize, or that's the moment that the world kind of like rewards you with someone that values those same things and focuses on the same things. Does that make sense? So it was, and like Zach literally said that it was his prime example without even realizing. He's like, actually, I was just like focused on myself, and like this situation came about, and then I realized, like, being so in tune with yourself, you realize what you actually want and you actually need, and so therefore, when you know that, then obviously you can go forward and you can be in the right headspace and stuff to try to be in a relationship with someone. So super. That's advice I would give people. Just like Zach said, just like, dude, the moment you focus on yourself is the moment you're going to realize what you truly want. If that makes sense. Yeah. So I guess like to get into like, I just wrote down a question. It's like, how do you know, and Luke, maybe you can go, or I mean, Zach is in a relationship, and I got out of one recently, but how do you know that you should stay in a relationship and also should not stay in a relationship? And we got into a little bit about that toxicity of relationships. So first of all, how do you know that you should like not stay in a relationship, for someone who's maybe listening right now, who is in a relationship, is like in the middle of like, I don't know if this is, for whatever reason, feeling.
Would it be like a good comparison, like a comparison with like, say like you guys, like as like literally some of my best friends, like can I compare like this girl, like her attributes to your guys' attributes? Like I know I'm gonna be with you guys for like the rest of my life. Can I like compare that level of love to like the love I share with this girl, like who like I've been seeing a while, like you know where I'm going with that, like how you just said like, okay, man, I
Yeah.
really like felt like that. I want to be with this girl for the rest of my life. And like how you were talking to me last night about her, like you're like, I wanted her to meet you guys, and I want you guys to meet her. Like, yes, like did you feel that same love with her as you do with us, like as in being long term?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, basically, you're like comparing like friends, like real friendships with like an intimate relationship,
Yes.
comparing those. And I think, I mean, like very simply, they should think about them in a very like similar lens. And the idea is like, this is a good human being. Like they have traits that I value and that I like look up to. At the end of the day, they make me a better person. When I'm around you guys, like I was just, every day I've been here, like we work out, we like have real conversations. Things. It's like you guys make me a better person, and I think should absolutely be the same, a necessity for your significant other. So I think there is absolutely certain similarities, or they should definitely some intertwinings that should be there with your true friends and your significant other. I mean, and there's also differences, but I think at the end of the day, like, yeah, I think that's pretty fair to say. No?
Yeah. I mean, like if you're in a relationship, like would you want to like say like, man, this girl is just like kind of like me, she thinks the same way, but or would you like want her to be more of like your friends? What or would you want like a girl to be, how would you want that?
Well, I think you kind of answered it. We answered it before, being like, it's our true friends, our close friends. We do think the same. We have conversations about real shit. I can't tell you how many times we've all had so many times where you're just like, whatever. You're maybe out with a group of people that you don't necessarily like consider your close friends, and like at least I've had this plenty of times where it's like, the conversations we're having are like stupid. You know what I mean? It's like about like
Yeah.
pointless shit. You're just like talking to talk, and that's like okay. I'm not saying that every conversation be absolutely serious, but if you're like spending hours with people and you like are not talking about, for me, anything truly beneficial to like me and my health, and like and the other way around, it's like, dude, that's like that for me, that's a red flag. And so therefore, if you're with a significant other, you guys are like at dinner table or whatever, and you're just talking about like the most random stuff and not very beneficial things. It's just like, man, how much is your guys' brain like alike in that aspect? Like what growth is really going to happen if you guys aren't having conversations about real things? Yeah. I mean, I felt it on both sides extremely. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing better than just like having a conversation with a girl about, and you're like opening up to them, you know, like it's like a borderline therapy session. And yeah, because like girls, I mean, for me, like girls, like this girl like did that for me, you know. She like just I wanted to open up, I wanted to like, I wanted her to know more about me, you know, and I never felt that before. I'd always like want to like I always put my doors up to like girls, whatever. I mean, I guess that's what we do as men, but like to you guys, I open up. But yeah, I never had that feeling before. That was like all the walls were down, and it wasn't like I was even consciously putting them down. It was just like that's the feeling that was running through my veins, you know.
Yeah, that could
how do
be.
you
Oh, no.
oh,
Yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
sorry,
No,
Zach,
go
didn't mean
ahead.
to cut you off there.
No,
Yeah,
you're
like I'm just like wondering like what do you think is like the perfect balance between like, okay, like I am gonna open up to this girl, so like, hey, you gotta be vulnerable, you gotta be comfortable, but at the same time, like you're still like a man, like you have like the attributes, like you gotta be just a man, like you have, I don't know how like how to describe like the attributes like as dudes, but like like the tough guy, like I'm not saying like you have to be the tough guy, but like there's a balance in life, like where do you find yourself with that balance? Like what do you recommend? Like what do you think?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, Zach, to cut you off, but like, just I have a quick answer. I think there's you obviously you want to be like still like mentally strong as a man is what you're saying. Like, but
Right,
I think
right.
the simple answer to that, and then I can let Zach speak. So I know he has things to say. There's moments for it all. You know what I mean? Like if you like,
Exactly.
I don't know. It's like this is maybe a shit example, but if like you're driving and like the roads are bad and like like it's not a time for you to kind of break down right now with your significant other. I know that does that sound like super basic, but it's like I think that's true. It's like, all right, this is time for me to be like kind of strong and like, kind of man up. I hate that phrase, but like, no, let me like kind of take over and like let me just be confident. And it might be fake, but it's still like that's what she needs at this time. But if you're like sitting there and then on the other side of that, you're like sitting there at a dinner table or sitting there in bed, like, dude, stop trying to be fucking tough. Just be honest with her. And communication, like Zach said, is honesty, on all aspects of like all lines of communication. I guess there's different lines of communication, and one of those lines being true honesty, and yeah, there's a time, but like, it's not a time for you to break down about your feelings when it's like, I don't know. That might be a shit example, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
That's how I think of. There's times to be
I got you.
strong, and there's time to be like a tough guy, and there's absolutely times for that in a relationship. But for the majority, there's absolutely you need to be open with your significant other, and I found in my experiences like they want that more than anything. You know what I mean? Like a lot of girls find that attractive, as well, because you're able to have that feeling of like, oh, this is a time for me to open up, and yeah.
Well, yeah, when people say, um, I don't like the phrase when people say that they're being vulnerable with a person, because I would just say you're being honest with the person. Vulnerability just sounds like kind of to me like a negative connotation.
Yep.
And like it's like a secondary feeling or whatever word you want to use for that. And I think it's just you're just being honest with that person. Like you said, like your guard was down and maybe it wasn't intentionally. It just kind of that's what the feeling was. So it's just you were just being honest with her because that's what you felt was necessary in that time and space. So that could definitely be a reason to stay in a relationship. I was just going back to the topic, to stay in a relationship. But also you said if your partner makes you a better person, I think that's a pretty good reason to want to stay in your relationship as well. Like you were referring to having kind of conversations that aren't really beneficial or impactful all the time is not necessarily something you really want to surround yourself with. I think there is a balance between, we'll call it trivial conversations, like day-to-day stuff, and more deep and introspective and reflective type of conversations. And there's a time and space for all of that. And I think a balance is definitely key, because you're not always going to talk super deep and meaningful, and you're not always going to talk very trivial. At least I don't think you should in a relationship. It should just kind of be a mixture of both. But sometimes you may not even want to talk about something deep. So it's just whatever you're feeling in the moment. And I think it depends person by person. But all in all, I think if you're having meaningful and impactful conversations with your partner that are making you grow as an individual mentally, then that's definitely a green flag and a good reason to stay in your relationship. Because if you're growing from another person by just having conversations with them, then that's someone that you want to definitely surround yourself with, continue to, because this journey of life is definitely a big progress ring, and any progress is still progress. So if you're growing, then I think that's a good thing. Like being vulnerable with your significant other, I think you can kind of reframe that and just say that you're being honest with your significant other. Tom referenced that he was kind of like his walls were down and it wasn't necessarily intentional. It was just what he was feeling in that moment. So I think it depends type of answer for everyone, because every relationship is definitely different. But tying it back to the question, if why should you stay in a relationship or why should you not stay? But if you're being honest with your significant other and you're having this deep and tough, open conversations with each other that are making you grow mentally as an individual and as a cohesive relationship, like if you're both growing through that process, then I think that's a pretty good reason to stay in your relationship, because that's kind of the goal of life, is to just become better than you were the day before. So if you're growing, I think that's can be a pretty good reason to want to stay in that certain relationship.
Zach, is there like what's one thing like that you've learned like a psychological study that you didn't like know before that you were like, wow, I didn't know that, and like I learned that in school, and you're like, okay, I want to start applying this to myself and my next and or like current relationship.
It I would definitely say the communication piece. And communication has so many it's an umbrella term, but it goes along with um honesty and accountability and just taking responsibility for yourself. Because we're learning, at least the program I'm in, that the therapeutic relationship is at least 75% of, like, if therapy is going to go well, it's 75% dependent on the therapeutic relationship. So when you think about like a therapeutic relationship or just any relationship, it's just about that rapport that you build with someone. And when you think of building rapport, what does that all come down to? It's communication. So communication, it's just being honest and open and just um, open to new perspectives. And if you don't want to accept it, then don't accept it. But it's still hearing that other person and what they have to say. So I would definitely just say communication is definitely, it is, when people say that like preach communication, I would double down on that and say communication in an intimate relationship is, if not the most important, it's one of the most important things to make a relationship keep going.
Now, like when couples come into like couples therapy or something, like is like that one of the biggest things? Like, is that like they just need like someone to guide them? They just need help with like opening up and just being able to speak to one another. Is that one of the
From
major
from what
contributors?
I've seen, it's definitely, they don't hear what their partner truly feels or thinks about a certain situation. But once they're in the room talking about it out loud, then it's kind of like they have an epiphany, like, oh, I didn't know that's how you felt, or I didn't know you thought that way. And that's why you're so upset. Like, I didn't put that together because you didn't tell me this. So it's definitely, they're just not being as open as they can be. It might just stem from other issues. Maybe they just, oh, they don't really care. They don't want to hear that. So I'm just not going to say it. But it's sort of like a wow moment. Like, I didn't know that's how you felt, but now I see it. Like when you hear it out in the open. So yeah, that's what I would say about that.
And it could be good and bad. Like
Yeah.
you start opening up to this person. It's just like, wow, I didn't know you felt like this, and I just don't feel the same. And next thing you know, that one thing leads to another, relationship's over. But at the same time, that can be a very good thing. You're learning how to open up. I'm not saying like it's a bad thing, but yeah, at the same time, it can be a great thing, and you're just learning more about this person. It just makes that relationship ten times better.
Yeah.
Real
So
world shit, dude. Like, oh, sorry, Zach.
no, yeah, go ahead.
Um, yeah, so it's the hardest thing because like we all like to consider ourselves like very independent, like mentally tough in a healthy way. Um, but at the end of the day, man, it's like it's okay to not be okay towards anyone. And man, if I could like, like not really like a regret guy, but like I have some regrets in my life with like past relationships, or like a past relationship. It's just being able to admit that like, hey, I'm like not okay right now, and so therefore that connects the pieces of why most likely your significant other, she had like she or her has these thoughts, and these thoughts like aren't connecting well. The moment that the other person just lets them know for the most part that they're not okay and like, I'm sorry, I'm just not okay right now, those thoughts get connected and they're like, oh shit, this is all just because he or she just isn't doing well right now. And like, guess what? That's okay. And like, that's the most, because guess what? You're a human being, and that is absolutely, and that's a, communication is that umbrella term, like you said, Zach. And one of those is admitting when you're not okay. Like that simple thought. And it's like, I don't really know why right now I'm not okay, but like, I'm going to try to figure it out, not only for you and for us, but definitely most importantly for myself. And yeah, man, that in relationships is huge, man, because you can definitely, your wheels can start turning crazy when you're like, well, why is this person acting this way, or not acting in any way at all, or like not communicating at all? Like, what's going on? The moment that you just communicate and let them know that, like, hey, man, I'm just not okay right now, and I'm sorry, but I'm trying my best. And man, that's, if I give any advice to any young relationship or just relationship in general, it's like, dude, the moment that you feel not okay, just let them know. And you don't need to know why you don't feel okay right now. Just let them know you don't feel okay, because the moment you do that, you'll start to, I believe you start actually trying to figure things out of why you're not okay. You like release that. Release that into the universe, and then therefore you can start thinking a little more clearly now. So yeah, sorry, Zach.
No, yeah.
Off, yeah.
If you're not okay, your partner could start to make inferences, and it could just start to impact other dynamics of the relationship. So I'm just thinking along the lines of, if you're not okay, and then maybe your conversations just aren't the same, or maybe the sexual intimacy is not the same, just not spending as much time together, or the time just doesn't seem to be well spent, then the other partner could think like, oh, well, the attraction's gone, like the spark is gone, things just aren't the way they are. And that's when relationships start going down that downhill road. And it just could have been a simple fix by just communicating in the first place, like what's wrong right now, like what you're feeling. That could go on either side too. It's not just a man thing, but in relationships, to make it work, it's definitely just being honest when, like Tom said, when you're not okay. And it's okay. And when you have that significant other, they're your significant other for a reason. So they do care about you and want to hear, they would love to hear why you're not feeling like yourself, because they want to help you, because they're in a relationship with you. You guys are together. So if you guys both want to make it work, then it will work. And that would start with the communication piece. So along like a different aspect, if you guys want to still touch on why you should not stay in a relationship, or if you want to go into like maybe like red flags, if we're kind of having trouble answering the first part of the question.
Yeah, so I wrote something down, and this would like be a great a great way to kind of get into the reasons maybe why you should not. And I just had like lifestyle differences, and I guess this goes into like that person, what they value. But man, like if I'm in a relationship with someone and our lifestyles, and this usually just goes in really the realm of like productivity, kind of like discipline in their health, and I know like kind of very some like broy terms, but it's true. It's like, if you guys are so far off in like what you value, just day-to-day things, like very, very simple things, like sleep, diet, exercise, if those things are like polar opposites, or like pretty close to being polar opposites, it's just not gonna, to me, that's a huge, because you just never, and if she or he is not willing to change for the obvious better, then man, you're just not gonna become a better person. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like one person's gonna have to bring someone else down for you guys to compromise for this lesser of a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, those you touched on it. You can be aware that they're different, but if the person is not willing to kind of
Yeah.
compensate or try to
Mhm.
change to better fit what the lifestyle is for both of you, then that's kind of, then what am I gonna do with you? Like, it's such a polar
Mhm.
opposite, and we have to want to make it work. I would agree with that. I wouldn't want someone that doesn't really uh care about their body and like knows that I value like health and wellness or whatever you want to call it, and they're just kind of dismantling it and not really, it's like a invalidation type of thing, or like they're just not supportive of my values. And if they don't want to try to change themselves, and it's kind of like, well, what are we doing here?
Mhm. Yeah, Luke, anything to add, brother? Luke's
I just,
single. Luke's been single for a minute, man. He's
yeah, I haven't been put myself out there like that. That's why I kind of was asking Zach, like, where did you just kind of go with that? Like, what was your kind of mindset? That's why I was asking that in the beginning, just because. And I know I haven't been trying. Like, I'm just doing what I'm doing, and
It's gonna
but yeah,
come.
like, oh yeah, and that's when I'm not trying to force it, but like I'm not trying, and like
Yeah.
that's where I know I'm going wrong, and like honestly, just today, like thinking about it and you saying that, it honestly helped me, and it kind of just clicked right there. Why as to why am I not doing this? And I don't even know why. And then I'm gonna search for that answer, and I might be doing it the wrong way to start, but I'm gonna find my way, you know.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Also, it's like, dude, don't be don't be hard on yourself for just like I like kind of go back to like that quote, man. It's like just be someone that you would want someone to date, or yeah, you would want to date. You know, what kind of traits would you want to have? What daily routines, what daily habits would you want someone that you would want to date have? And like you be that, you know what I mean? And then the moment that you like, yeah, you incorporate that into your life, and obviously you're already right there. So and you know what that looks like, you know what having those daily habits already look like. So yeah, man. And then like to me, it's like the universe is gonna reward you for like taking care of yourself.
Yeah, it's like
100%.
you attract what you are.
Exactly, man. Exactly. So we'll go to a little like not less serious of a note, but like a different realm of relationships, which is dating apps. I guess is right up. Let's be right up Luke's alley.
Hey, how are
So yeah. So Luke, are you on the apps?
Yeah, I am. I've kicked off Tinder. I'd love to see it. I don't know why. I'd like to like just get an explanation on that, but
You got
you know,
canceled.
but
You got canceled off Tinder.
yeah, probably. I mean, girls out,
But
especially college women. But
what's your
sometimes
experience with
there's,
them though?
I mean, iffy. Like you, you have your fun. You have your fun, but at the same time, it's just like you know, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, so I just need a minute. Like, go with something. Go with something. I need you to feel
Yeah,
like.
I just think they're exhausting. Like it's just I don't know
Yeah.
how.
Yes.
I should say I don't know how. I just like don't want to put. For me, that's a very very weird. For me, a very weird way to put like energy towards something, and it's not like not dating. It's just that like that the app that those apps of dating. It's just very strange for me, and it's just I can't. I just don't get a gauge on like really who I'm talking to, and I'm like I can't really express myself and like add context or tone to what I'm saying. It's
Mhm.
just like it just couldn't be. It's just not me. And I not that listen. There's like healthy relationships right now from dating, you know, from dating apps. I'm not like dissing them, but just me personally. If you're finding that it's very exhausting, then like don't just keep forcing yourself. I'm not saying you, just anyone in general. Just don't keep forcing it, man, because it's like not worth it. Like it's like yeah, I guess I'm trying to say because it's hard to. It's like literally impossible to be yourself because this isn't like this phone like isn't you. You know what I mean? That's not
Right.
your
100%.
profile. That's not you. You know, like truly who you are as a person. So, and I guess I just value like body language and and like communication, and like social skills. I value that so much that it's that dating apps are the opposite of social skills and body language, because you literally can't see, or can't really get their social skills based off of texting back and forth. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So that's just why I refrain from them. I
No,
just like
I
didn't
I would
do well.
100% agree. Like it is exhausting. Like you like all these pictures and you want to like match with these people and you do match and you're just like, all right, what do I even say to you? Like I don't know you. I know you based on like you look good in this picture. I'm like, okay. And it's just like, okay, now what do I want to say? What do I want to say? How can I be creative? And but it's not being me and who I want to be. It's just me because I just want to have some fun. But like at the same time, I see where you mean. It is very exhausting trying to just work up, trying to talk to these people. And sometimes I'm just like, I don't even want to talk to you just because I don't know what I want to say to you.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And like having a real conversation with someone over these dating apps sounds super boring. But like in the real world, like you see across the table with another person, like on a date, that's what a real conversation is. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily what you guys are saying to each other. It's how are they responding? Are they listening to you? Their body language, like their energy
mhm,
towards certain things in life. Like those things you cannot replicate, or you cannot produce texting back and forth on this app. You know what I mean? And those things are, like we just talked about, the most valuable things in a relationship, or just in another person. So yeah, man, it's just, yeah, like I said, I don't know. It's just takes a lot of time and energy, and it's for like what? Just for you to show your
yeah,
boys that you match with some like
yeah,
hot chick.
exactly.
It's just like
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
stupid,
and we
man.
do it all the time. But it is what it is. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
You're with the fellas. It's a good time. You're just having fun. But yeah, at the same time, like a lot of times, like that thing, like I notice is they don't even like want to put the effort in. Like, okay, you're trying to meet up. Okay, let's go for like on a date. Let's go for drinks, and like you try to give these ideas, and they're just like they're not saying anything, or like you're Snapchatting or them or something, and they're just like they take like a day and a half to respond. Like that's the kind of energy that I don't want, and that's what I
Hmm.
really truly find is absolutely exhausting.
Hmm.
That's what I would say about dating apps. I feel as though there's an underlying theme or reasoning for why people do them. And I think it has to do with when you get a swipe, it's like you get that dopamine rush that someone likes
Yep.
you.
Mhm.
But the other thing that I just don't like about them is you're just basing it off of pictures and like,
Absolutely.
it's just attraction. Like you don't know, you haven't talked to them. You don't know if you have any common interests. You haven't actually had a like conversation with them in person. You don't know if the vibe is correct. Um, but like what you're saying about some people don't have the energy to want to meet up, even though if they match with you, that should be what you're doing is when we match, like let's meet up and just like talk.
Mhm.
But the ones that don't have the energy to do that, that's why I feel like where I feel like dating apps kind of lose it for me is because people use them to get that dopamine rush of like getting likes and getting new Snapchat ads, and they can just be Snapchatting a lot of people. And I think it just comes down to they like the attention on female and male. They like that. And yeah, dating apps, for some people they can be beneficial. And I think during the height of the pandemic, they were useful if you wanted to like meet new people and like talk to them like through your phone, because we couldn't like go outside for a few months. That was like a beneficial time, I think, if you were on dating apps to talk to new people. But nowadays I just like personally I don't really, I'm not a fan of them. But it is a person by person thing. Someone, like Tom said, there's people that have relationships from dating apps, and I mean, more power to you. But it's all about what you value when you're looking for a significant other, or what you're even using the dating app for. So I think it's a person by person dynamic for sure.
Yeah. So
And
let's wrap.
100%. Oh, sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So let's. No. I just want to kind of like, all right. So if someone's listening, who's like, I have no idea how to even like basically begin like I want to find a significant other. I'm like maybe past the stage of, just like only talking to girls for physical reasons and like sexual reasons. And they're finally like, all right, I've made the decision that like I'm gonna grow up a little bit and just just try to put myself out there in a sense in the dating world. We'll just wrap up what we said. It's like, one, be the person that you want to date. So incorporate that into your life first. So actually, the moment that you decide, hey, I think I want to start like seeing other people for like real relationships, start focusing inward. Like first step, like be a person you want to become. Because and like Zach said, law of attraction, like that's the person that people that you're going to attract, because you're going to know you value those people because you value yourself. And then also like legit work on, like, obviously most likely you're probably like going out like dating more and meeting new people, like legit like work on social skills. And the only way to work on social skills is by like being social with people and like try to like ask questions and listen your ass off. Like actually try to listen to people, or not try, actually listen to people, and like try to be interested. The moment you're more interested than interesting in life is a moment where you can, that's really that's like the moment where you actually get to learn and grow as a person, and people will feel that, man. Absolutely. So yeah, anything to add to that? It's like very simple, but definitely just focus inward, which is a weird way to kind of look about it. But, and also don't be too good for relationships. Like don't think like, oh, I'm like too busy or a lot of, it's like life's too short not to be spending with people that you love. Not that everyone needs to be in a relationship, but I remember I used to just think like, man, I'm like, I don't need a relationship right now. It's like, that's not the idea behind relationships. A true relationship is you guys benefiting from each other and sharing a beautiful life together. And that might look in a couple different lenses, and long distance relationships, whatever. We can maybe even get into that. But yeah, man, like and also communicate, be honest.
Effort. It's not 50-50. It's 100% of your effort, 100% of their effort. It can't be 80-20, 50-50. Yeah.
And so
okay.
I would just add the social skills piece. If you want to be in looking for a relationship and you're done with like searching for just sexual gratification and like short-term happiness or whatever, when you start just talking to other people, don't make it so you need to get his or her number. Just have a conversation. It doesn't need to have a destination of, well, I'm going to go talk to this girl or this guy to get their number. It doesn't need to be like that. Just let the conversation flow, and just, put yourself out there and just work on your social skills. Just have a conversation. People love to just actually talk to someone and feel like they care what they're saying. So, how are you doing today? Or like, anything exciting going on recently in your life? Just like listen. So just have a conversation. Don't go into it thinking you need to get a number or an Instagram or a Snapchat. But if it goes well, then yeah, if you want to talk again, like here's my Instagram or like something like that. It doesn't have to be a final reason for why you're going to approach that person in the first place.
To maybe the hardest aspect of relationships is sometimes they're long distance, end quote. And man, it hits home for your boy, because I definitely had some complications with this, or I guess this idea. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know where to begin. Let me ask this question, and then maybe we can kind of organize. I can try to organize my thoughts, and you guys try to organize yours if you guys need it. But we all agree that it is absolutely possible to have a successful long distance relationship for a long period of time, i.e. 12 plus months of being long distance.
Yes.
100%.
Okay. I agree. There's I know it's like, it's almost a fucking easy question, but like some people don't believe that, okay. So therefore, what does that relationship look like then? A healthy long distance relationship for a long period of time, which I guess is, I don't know why I keep saying for a long period of time. A long distance relationship for like 12 plus months, or yeah.
I mean, I think it really has to just start off with, I mean, obviously the honesty, but like you have to just go in, like, there's going to be challenges, and you have to always be just expressing how you're feeling, and it's just gonna be tough. And I think this is one of the things you have to talk about too. Like, I'm not gonna be there to support you in person. Like, maybe we can do it over FaceTime, but like you're not getting those emotions. And like, I think that has to be a very big focal point in stating your expressions while I'm not there in person. Because when over FaceTime and in person is completely different thing. Like, feeling their body language. And I mean, I get, like, you can see the person like face to face, but you're not there to feel what they're feeling.
Yeah, long distance relationships to me just seem so, if they work, are just so fascinating to me, because if you're not in the same physical like environment and you're surrounded by all these other people, it just seems so difficult to still stay grounded that you're in a relationship. And there's certain boundaries and lines that you can't cross, because it might cross like a value of yours, or like morally you might just like, oh, I don't really feel like my partner would appreciate that. So it's constantly being in tune with that. And also just the communication piece, it's different, because like Luke said, you're not face to face. It's a completely different conversation. And when I think of like long distance, obviously life happens sometimes and it might turn into a long distance relationship. I'm just thinking of like a basic example. If someone moves away for school or for a job, and then you're still together, and if you both are taking care of your goals and what you have to do, then I feel like that is a contributor to making it work. Like focusing on what you're doing in that moment. And there needs to be a want on both sides to want to make it work. That's the big thing. I have experience with a long-term relationship, and it didn't I don't think it even lasted like 3 months in high school. When my girlfriend like went to college, we tried to make it work, but and she wasn't even but 2 hours away, and it just didn't work. But we tried it. But I'll just say, yeah, long distance relationships are definitely tough. And if anyone who's listening might be in one, or possibly thinking about getting into one, just know what you're getting yourself into, and it's going to be hard. But I do think you should try it before making a decision. Like, you should try it first, just to see if it works or not, because you don't want to have those what if thoughts if you didn't try it.
Yeah, 100%. You can't go into it with the negative attitude of like, yeah, obviously it will be hard. But and in my mind, I feel like, okay, I'm already going into this with a negative mindset. And
Yeah.
like, how can I change that? Is it like, what can I do to change that? Do I openly discuss this with said person? Like, I don't know. What do you, Tom? Like, I know you were definitely had that long distance relationship. Like, what was like something that you went into to kind of like just keep yourself, like Zach said, just grounded and just like humble, and just day by day, like, what did you do to keep yourself going with this relationship?
Yeah, it's absolutely like, it's like you consistently, I like keep saying the same thing, just consistently working on yourself. And because like I said, it's like when you work on yourself, when you're happy with being by alone, you won't be upset if that long distance relationship for some days doesn't like fulfill you as much as it did the day before. And then, because the problem with long distance relationship is obviously it's long distance. So, and obviously what I'm trying to get at is like, the more you work on yourself, the more you're happy with yourself, then like you don't feel the need for someone else to be there physically as you would with a normal, like, not normal, that's the bad way to put it, but a relationship, living with someone or close by.
Like a traditional relationship.
Yeah, so I think that's like very, very important, and I definitely got away from that in certain aspects. And the moment I kind of got grounded and got disciplined and kind of put my head down and really focused on myself, is I felt like, oh, now it's like, it's okay if, you know, we can't talk tonight, or we weren't able to FaceTime. We were only able to FaceTime for 10 to 15 minutes because we're in different time zones or whatever. It was okay because I'm still happy with myself and who I am as a person. And so I don't really remember the question. Yeah. So then, and then communication is the absolute important thing. I mean, that's what basically like ended my like would have been long distance relationship, is I just simply wasn't honest. I wasn't honest with myself, firstly, and I wasn't honest with my significant other. And yeah, and also being aware that it's not gonna feel like the same sometimes. You know what I mean? Like on a Friday night when all you want to do is just like go out to dinner with your girlfriend or whatever, and it sucks, and you like feel like those are very, very normal things. It's not going to feel like a traditional relationship. But at the end of the day, you guys just need to kind of look inward and realize, like, is this something that's going to be worth it in the end? And if you can consistently say yes, 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 then just keep going, man, and use that time to like really, really work on yourself, and really spend time on yourself, and accept the challenge. You know what I mean? Like, be the goddamn best FaceTimer you've ever been. You know what I mean? Like and then you're going to cherish those skills for whatever down the line when you guys aren't in a traditional relationship and you got to go away for a week or something. And I know it might sound silly, but that's like, it's a great way to kind of, for me, it's a healthy outlook to have on it. It's like, take it for what it's worth, man. And yeah, so I guess like, yeah, maybe that's kind of well-rounded. I guess something I wish I would have told myself maybe a short 6 months ago. And to not shy away from it, and kind of and don't be too good for a long distance relationship, because you can absolutely still share your life with someone miles away, and it still feels good.
Say like,
Yeah.
have a Merry
Let's close
Christmas
out the
for
video.
anybody listening. Yeah, let's have a Merry Christmas for anybody listening. Enjoy your time with family and friends, and don't forget to say thanks.